like and subscribe.
Hey all, this is part 2 in a 2-part series on the Warhammer races. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, we do the Imperium of Man. You can check that out in the description, and I would highly recommend you watch that to get context for this episode. If you already have, go ahead and keep on watching. So after an entire episode of nothing but humans, we can now talk about chaos, which involves humans again, but a little bit less. We also got demons.
I just felt someone grab my ass. What? Like hard, Nick.
So, as I've mentioned many times before, we've discussed the warp, the immaterium, the hellish landscape, the purgatory dimension realm between the material realm of our existence. Now, in the warp, it's terrifying, horrible. There are demons everywhere. Things are crazy. All your minds and thoughts and emotions get projected there. It is both formless and empty. It is vast and tiny. It obeys the laws of time and physics while simultaneously does absolutely nothing of the sort. It is a
Bro, this is sounding like the void in Warframe. It's like, I guess in Warframe it's different. It's like, it's known as like indifference. Basically, like Schrodinger's cat, except it's every single possibility, right? It's the possibility that the cat is dead, the possibility that the cat is alive, the possibility that you didn't put the cat in there in the first place. It's everything. So it sounds like it, and then it has like some time travel-y-esque weirdness with like Duviri paradox type stuff that's still within like void territory. Yeah, I do like it. It's I like how like something in universe outside of universe is unexplainable. It is just like within this universe, it's outside of the universe, but just unexplainable at all. You can attribute many things to it, but it will always say yes. And you don't know which one is correct.
a hodgepodge and a culmination of just unknowable, eldritch, horrifying shit. And there are 4 gods that permeate in chaos and the warp. These are the 4 major chaos gods. And if we wish to learn about chaos, we need to learn about each and every single one of these chaos gods. First up, we have Khorne, and he is the easiest. Khorne is your classic Satan. He is all about anger, murder, fighting, blood, guts, death. You ever heard the term blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne? That's Khorne. The whole idea is that he is all about the fury and strength of battle. He doesn't care where.
Wait, it didn't originate from this, right? It's just mentioning like that's how much this blood aspect is, or if it is from this, that's cool. Blood for the blood god. If that's from this, I don't even know where that's from, but everyone says it.
Blood comes from, so long as blood is flowing. He wants to fight and murder and carnage and slaughter and death, 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 death. That is Khorne. Very simple to understand. Next up you have Tzeentch, and Tzeentch is the god of change. However, the god of change, it permeates in so many different other ways. He's the most...
Isn't there a movie called Teeth? And I've only heard about it. This was back during like Piranha 3D, these weird like horror movies, man. But I'm pretty sure Teeth is a thing, right? And I don't know.
Eldrick of all the demon gods. He has this weird way to always be plucking at the strings of the universe. He's always conniving and scheming and doing his best to cause as much little bullshit as he can. Tzeentch is unknowable. Everything that makes sense, he will and won't do. Every future and setting and every type of destiny or...
Bro's just the void from Warframe personified then.
Fate is all foretold and also changeable. It is set in stone while also completely random. He knows what everything is going to happen and also that none of it's going to happen. You would ask Tzeentch a question. That question leads to 3 more questions. And those questions lead to the heat death of the universe, which asks for answers to those questions. And then he thinks to himself, what are questions even really? And are you even asking the questions, or are you simply giving paths to answers and other horse shit? Zeech is just, I'm gonna fuck with stuff. He is yes and he is no. He is the understanding and he is complexity. He is unknowable. And that's what the God of Change is about. Warframe. Very bizarre. And he likes birds a lot. I don't know why. Next up, we got Papa Nurgle. Papa Nurgle, he loves you for who you are. Probably not.
This is the one that's stuck in my head because people reference Nurgle a lot. And plus, Nurgle kind of sounds like a slur, and I like saying it.
He will murder you just the same. But Papa Nurgle is about rot, pestilence, death, and decay. He is the end of
you dirty Nurgle. Bro said the harder L. Nah, that's crazy.
Everything. Him and Zeech do not like each other very much because where Zeech represents change and adjustment, Nurgle represents stagnation and death. He is all about miasma and pestilence and large bloat and pus and organs and people.
Looks disgusting. I don't know what I'm looking at. It looks like some, I don't know, coronavirus 2.0.
Just being sedentary, sloth. He is the idea that everything will rot and decay and die. Nothing is certain besides decay and death. All of us will end up the same way, and broken down through just sheer never-ending decomposition. So the joke that Nurgle always loves you is generally because of that, because we all end up the same. We all rot, and we all die and wither. That's Nurgle, and he's got a general theme of course, pestilence and...
He's kind of got a point. It's the same point that I tell every time, like, I mix and match, like, sweet stuff with, like, savory stuff. Like, it's going in the same stomach, right? I mean, it's gonna mix there anyway. I'm just skipping the mixing.
Different kinds of diseases and sickness and things of that nature. That's generally Nurgle. He's pretty easy to understand.
Me dipping my sausages in ice cream.
As well, and he chunk. Finally, we have the youngest of the Chaos Gods, and that is Slaanesh, also known as the Prince of Pleasure or the God of Unspeakable Excess. Slaanesh is generally referred to with sex, but it's not only sex, it's just that's a good avenue if you want to make stuff. Slaanesh is just the idea of the senses of the body being cranked to not just 11, but more like 17. So we'll discuss Slaanesh a little bit more.
So it's just like the pleasures and just pleasures. Like maybe would satisfaction be under that? So it's just not mostly like sex. Okay.
The Eldar because they done fucked up, but it or whatever is mainly about just the X.
Careful now. I know this 5 years ago. Jesus. My heart skipped a beat, man. Oh my days. 5 years ago, I legit thought in my head 2016, 2015. And I saw that 2020. My heart. I can't, man. Guys, we're dying. We're getting old.
Excess of emotions, and therefore sex is generally a large part of it. However, it's mostly pain.
What the hell? Me next? What? Huh?
And torture. Lots of pain, torture, but sometimes sexually related or drug related. Lots of drugs. Lots of drugs. Slaanesh gets...
No, hang on. Slaanesh might be a little bit of me, man. I don't know, man.
Off on everything. Extremes in happiness, extremes in sadness, extremes in pain and sadism and masochism, and of course that goes along with the sex part of it as well. It's generally referred to with sex because of the color scheme, very purple, lots of exposed genitalia. A lot of their models have like exposed nipples and stuff, and that is generally the theme you go for from a physical side, but it really embodies everything, mainly pain and also the excessive amounts of emotion. So when it comes down to it, you'll find a lot of them have things like spikes or whips or any kind of BDSM style gear because it is unspeakable excess, the prince of pleasure. Everything in
6 titties, nice. 3 titties, nice. I'm pretty sure that's the line. Shout out, see if you know the reference.
Excess to the point where it is just sheer frightening. That is Slaanesh in a nutshell. A little bit bizarre and a little hard to describe sometimes, but as we talk more about the Dark Eldar layer in this video, you'll understand it far, far better and far more than you'd want to. Now you might be thinking, why would anyone ever want to join Chaos? They all look horrifying, screwed up, and just frightening things, right? Well, the thing is that, of course, one, your mind is put into the warp and the Immaterium, so you can be easily swayed by Chaos demons when they get into your head, especially if you're a psyker. Sometimes
oh no, I'm being corrupted. Oh man. Is that acid?
of the less mentally strong people, whether they be civilians or say low-level guardsmen or conscripts, can be easily swayed by this and become chaos cultists and stuff, and they serve their dark gods and whatever god they personally prefer. However, and this might seem strange, chaos in their own right isn't necessarily evil. See, the warp is every manifestation of emotion and being, every soul, everything of existence.
Don't tell me it's like, oh, it's just a reflection of everything within the universe. Okay, that's not bad.
Includes all the good things. All the different chaos gods have another side to their coin. Khorne might be death, murder, slaughter, slaughter, but he's also got this weird sense of survival of the fittest, trial by combat, and honor. Khorne will never lie to you. Khorne will never stab you in the back. Khorne isn't about conniving and scheming. Khorne is about straight up mano-y-mano, you versus me, get in the ring, we're gonna murder each other hard right now.
Okay.
May not be a good thing at the end of the day, but it is that other side of the coin. Him and Tzeentch generally don't get along because Tzeentch is that conniving schemer,
yeah, that
but
makes sense.
He's also about the idea of hope. Where there is change for your predicament.
Yo, I do like this duality, but they're still bad. Yes, all honor in that, but brother, you're gonna squish me. Hey, we could call honor and everything, but you're going up against someone who's weaker than you by a trillion.
There's change
no
for
honor
your
in
problem. The hope of the galaxy, the ability to bend the world to your will, the idea that your fate is not set in stone.
This one is probably the least bad in my eyes through the duality thing. I don't know about the other two. I don't know, like, what could... I doubt it could change my mind, but this would probably... Well, it sounds like the nicest one, like hope and stuff. Changing you, changing your own fate, all of that stuff, I think is probably the best one out of all of them.
A reality that you control your own destiny and can control it whenever you want. The changer of ways. That is Tzeentch. And of course,
Bro
Tzeentch
has
and
the
Nurgle
American dream.
each other, because while Nurgle does represent stagnation, death, and decay, he also represents finality and ending. The fact that you can be mentally at peace knowing that you will end and how you will end. Fear of the unknown, fear of change is not present with Nurgle.
I guess you can kind of find like some solace in thinking that, well, this is all of us. Like, everyone's equal in this, and this is your fate. You can either be scared of it or not, or be peaceful, thinking, we're just one. This is gonna be us at some point. there's no like superiority or like anything like that. You're all gonna rot together the same way.
Nurgle,
I
everything
guess.
will rot and die, and that provides that finality, that ability that this is over. We are all the same, and we will all
Yeah.
end the same. We know the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to live and die and rot. And with that, it brings peace of mind. Slaanesh is a lot more simple. While they are the excess of emotion, they are also the representation of emotion. Slaanesh embodies happiness. Slaanesh embodies excitement and joy and
That makes
pleasure.
sense. Yeah,
not
yeah.
only in the sense of the physical,
Yeah.
bam style of pleasure, but also everything else like food and drink. And
Ooh, damn. Hey now. Was speaking my language, If I can, hey, you can torture me all you want, man. But give me the taste and the feel of like biting into a nice, hot, crispy chicken. Damn. Hey, torture me all you want, buddy. It's double the pleasure. Wait.
air on your cheek and sunlight, the feeling, emotion and feeling, all of that is also represented with Slaanesh. So you have to ask, why are they always represented as super evil skulls and spikes on everything and want to murder everybody? I don't really got an answer for you
Yeah,
on
they're
that
still
one.
bad.
My assumption is that because mentally humans may think worse thoughts even if we don't act on them, and therefore
Oh, that goes back to my theory before of like it's all like a reflection of everything in the universe. Okay, okay, that would is that true? Well, he recently released the part two to the re-explained one, the like updated one, like 5 years later. Yeah, the re-explained. So I'll get to find out at some point when I catch up to those. But yeah, damn, this is that's a cool like narrative idea of like they are they could be formless. They could be very well like formless, but it's just a perception of like beings from outside the warp, or like probably the feelings that kind of shape them. So it's not like individual like perceptions, it's more like everybody's like perception like imprinted onto them. That's a if that's the case, if that's true, brother, that's some genius stuff, man.
they're projected in the
So
warp
good.
more. That one's a little bit weird. I don't know. This is me spitballing right now, but I don't know. You need a super bad guy. You already got the Imperium of Man. You need somebody to be a little bit worse than them. So you got demons. Honestly,
True. How bad? the they are so bad that you you have to make these eldritch horror types like just to have a worse team, man.
who
Jeez.
cares? I just want to buy like a bird magician. Look at him. So cool. So combining all this together on the tabletop, Chaos Demons are generally very melee based. They run in, go really hard. You have lots of summoning and conjuring, tons of spells.
Okay. I'm assuming this is Slanesh's group. Nurgles. This is Khans. What? No, would this be Siege? Wait, I can't see you like who. Let me know, man.
Spells, generally a little bit frail, but they have special saves to make them a little bit stronger. You've got giant demons and smaller demons. You got hordes of little boys and tons of big guys. Demons are as they seem. Demons. Nurgle is slow. Khorne is super scary in melee. You've got Zeech, who are far more into psychers.
Oh, the blue ones were Siege, and the pink ones. Okay.
And spellcasting, and then Slaanesh, who is all melee,
And that
really,
was
really,
Slaanesh,
really
okay.
fast, but squishy, but in lots of hordes of tons.
Made sense. Made sense. These freakazoids. Damn, the whips with hooks. Damn, they look kind of. Eh?
Tons of melee and pain damage, of course. So overall, the demons are a huge part of 40k and a massive threat to almost every single faction, with the exception of a couple. However, the big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the Chaos Space Marines.
What?
So Horse and all of his boys, all of them in the Primarchs, they have all also become Chaos Boys, and they all have their own special Chaos Legions, specializing in so many different things, just like the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death, the regular Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines aren't a whole lot different than the regular Space Marines. They have the same armor, generally the same training and toughness. They just specialize in different kinds of things. And also a lot of the Primarchs have ascended into greater is it greater demons? They're demon Primarchs at this point. Gigantic, horrifying man-demon hybrids that are pretty awesome, if I'm going to be honest. They look really, really cool. But them and their associated legions that they are a part of are all kind of going out there and causing a large ruckus for everyone else. Considering the raw strength and firepower of a legion of Space Marines, imagine that entire legion just converting to chaos and immediately fighting you. It's generally pretty horrifying. There's a lot of them, so I gotta write them down. But you've got the Emperor's Children with Primarch Fulgrim, loyal to Slanesh. These people, they are some.
Oh my god, look at the face. This is insane. Bro, I did not see this coming. Chaos Marines.
Messed up people. They're just sensory overload. Tons of drugs, tons of torture.
I love this. Bro, this freaks me out and I love it. It makes me uncomfortable. I have a weird thing with like eyes, man, especially like eyes that are like a blacked out. It's
And I think Fulgrim is a demon Primarch right now, and oh god, I am terrified to see what that man looks like, at least on the tabletop, because the Emperor's Children are not good people. You've got the Iron Warriors, which are kind of like opposite of the Imperial Fists, with Primarch Perturabo, I believe is his name. They're Chaos Undivided. They just kind of serve Chaos in a general aspect instead of choosing one of the 4. But the Iron Warriors are big on the siege and fortification, and they're basically entirely against the Imperial Fists and a major rival. Perturabo, I believe, is also still alive, and I'm also very interested to see what he looks like, because Demon Primarchs are badass. You've got the Night Lords with Primarch Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is dead, which is good because he's a sick fuck. But the Night Lords are generally...
What does that mean? War crimes?
About terrorizing people and terrorism. They're generally about fear, and rightly so. You've got the World Eaters with Primarch Angron.
World Eaters. That's always a cool name, man. Damn, this looks... These, like, Aztec type axes are so cool.
Angron, still alive, also excited to see. Angron, if you think you've known an angry person, Angron is the angry...
So, I did not know, man. I did not know this... It makes sense now with, like, the trophies around. Bro, I had no idea when I first saw this picture that this was a Chaos Marine.
Son of a bitch you will ever know. Angron removed parts of his brain that didn't make him angry, so he could be angrier.
Angron.
Fucker's mad.
Jinx. Jinx holy. But yeah, that's crazy. What a name, man. Angron.
You've got the Death Guard with Primarch Mortarion. They actually have their own special codex and their own major army on the tabletop. Mortarion himself is actually one of the models, and look at him.
That's look at him. That looks badass. And to think people paint this. This is insane that people paint this. This is wild. Yo, that is crazy stuff. How? How'd you get this good at some point?
It's so cool looking. Of course, Nurgle based, obviously. So very slow, but very tanky. You've got the Word Bearers with Primarch Lorgar. Lorgar is, I believe, still alive. I don't know what's up with him at the current moment, but the Word Bearers are generally the people who caused all the major problems in the beginning. At least I blame them for it. They're little assholes. You got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus.
Black Legion, that's so good.
You've got the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alfarius Omegon. Chaos, I think. And then finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd.
Egyptian. Wait, what?
I think. And then finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd. The Thousand Sons also have their own book, just like the Death Guard. Magnus is also a tabletop model.
Bruh, that is wild. The horn titties, the horn nipples is wild.
He looks super cool, as you can tell, and they're all super heavily Psyker and kind of Egyptian themed.
Yeah, they look the Egyptian thing. I sucker for Egyptian themes, man.
But overall, with all of these Chaos Space Marine factions, you can play as a lot of different ones, but the main ones that you can really work at are standard Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Death Guard and Thousand Sons, as they are the most fleshed out, especially on the tabletop at least. See this right here? This is a really good way to describe the Chaos Space Marines. What the thick-headed fools with their broken corpse of an emperor fail to understand is that not only can they never defeat us, but they cannot hide or flee or shield themselves from the triumph of chaos. They are finite and we are unbound, undivided. They must not err, or they shall fall to heresy. All who fall join our cause. Every imperial fool who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. They strive merely to hold back our fury and might, and it consumes them. Thus, you can see chaos is inevitable. We lurk not only beyond their grasp and at their gates, we lurk within the darkness of their souls, on the tip of their tongues, in their tortured dreams. We are them, but freed from the shackles of ignorance. We are them, grown strong, evolved. We are them, but so much more. As
fire. The line that sticks with me is the ones with like open eyes are willing recruits. Imperial fools who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. That is crazy. That is a crazy line. That's like a. It's just one of those like. You're born. You're probably gonna join the Chaos Legion at some point, man. You're gonna join them very soon, especially in a universe like this, man.
Hardcore as that quote is, the saddest part is they're mostly right. Chaos is basically unkillable. You could probably get rid of Space Marines, a decent amount, the Chaos Space Marines that is, but every soul that dies goes to the warp. Every Chaos soul will end up back in the warp. And depending on how hard you killed them, they will come back at some point. Every demon you banish will return at some point.
I don't know how I like that, to be honest. I don't know. They had to have found like something to destroy them, because I don't like having like an enemy that is just unkillable. I guess it's just a normal trope of like death, right? It's the living fighting death. It's been told like a million times now. It's very tropey. I don't know, man. Surely there's a way you can like eliminate them from the universe. You know? Having just what's the point at that point? What's the point in focusing on like the chaos and the war if it's always one-sided and they're never gonna win? Why even tell that story? It'd be more interesting like telling like other stories. I guess they do tell other stories in between, like fighting chaos. They're like fighting like heresy, fighting all these other factions, but yeah, it's just having an unkillable enemy. I don't know, man.
Chaos is unstoppable. The warp is unending. And while maybe there is at some point some way to stop them somehow, the resources to do so, the requirements to do so are so far beyond the reaches of man and the other races at the current moment that really it's just an unstoppable force that just keeps on coming and is just barely being slowed. Chaos is by far the biggest threat. They are without number, their legions are everywhere, and yeah, they're pretty scary. So, I promise, we're done with humans now. Let's talk about some Xenos.
Ooh, okay. The Eldar.
So let's talk about...
I haven't heard that in ages. Bro, what happened to this song?
Xenos.
What happened to this meme?
So let's talk about the Eldar, or also known as the Eldari, which are a super hyper specialized and very technologically advanced race of, well, elf people. They were as well responsible for the creation of Slanesh, the newest demon god. How'd they do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Debauchery on a world.
Oh, right, right. They wanted for nothing, and then they just wanted more, and then they fell into this like whole deprived thing of like seeking more and more pleasure, more and more like satisfaction, stuff like that, but to like please their sick minds, and then it slowly delved into like debauchery and all that stuff, killing each other for pleasure, torturing stuff like that, and a branch like went off on their own, out of the way of these like deprived people. But then, yeah, I do remember that. That's such a cool concept of being able to create these powerful chaos lords, really.
Ending
Chaos
scale. See,
gods.
back in the day, it was just Khorne, Zeech, and Nurgle. And the Eldar are very, very ancient, millions of years. These Eldar, however, have a bit of a sensory problem. You know, every kind of pain or feeling that you have is a little bit amplified compared to the normal. However, with Eldar, as their race advanced so excessively and they became so self-reliant and everything became so easy, there was no requirement for food production anymore, there was no shortages, everything was basically.
One thing that comes to mind is like the Simon Pegg movie where aliens give him the power to wave his hand and make anything in reality like true. It'll make everything come true. And he waves his hand and says, "Let there be no reason for any wars." And checks the news, and they start wars because no one has a reason to start a war. They just start one. They'll find a way, man. And I guess it's weird because I always see it like this because they're meant to be elves, right? But I see it as in like it's humans riding elves, so they're gonna see themselves like as humanity at its worst. This is what humanity would be, but they're putting an elf like skin on top. But this is probably what humanity would be at some point if everything was sorted. People will still find conflict. If everything was met, everything like was made to make them happy. There'll be others that don't like that. um, but yeah, it's just weird because like I kind of like it. It's a reflection on humanity, but I also dislike it because well, it's a different race. Could you like I don't know, maybe narratively think of something that doesn't reflect us as humans because they're meant to be elves, like other beings. What you've given them is just enhanced feelings and emotions. I guess that's all the change is. They're just old people, like an old race that has a higher sense of feeling and emotions compared to humans. So at their core, they're just humans with that. Humans that have been around for ages will have higher like emotions and senses. So they will fall into like debauchery and stuff. Okay. I kind of walk, kind of like talking myself into it, but the initial idea I don't like.
Done. Everyone was so comfortable, and that comfort breeded this weird sedation, and that sedation breeded the requirement.
Breeded? I I don't think that that's a word. Breeded? Maybe? It looks right in my head. I'm writing it out. But it's always bread, yeah. But then it's one of those where like people say like, oh, it's octopi. No, it's not. It's octopuses. But there are some times where it's like, yeah, it kind of is octopi as well. But the convention isn't meant to be octopi. It's meant to be octopuses and cactuses.
For more and more debauchery.
Debauchery!
Debauchery! Debauchery! When everything you have can be so easily acquired, you will end up down this road of pure debauchery.
You're gonna seek new pleasures, people, and it brings it into mind again. How like I just see it as humans, man. They're just humans that are meant to be elves, and I don't think I like that. I don't. This is why I said at the start, the end of the first video, that I don't think I'd ever pick elves because I don't find them interesting. They're just a reskinned human. I wish they had more going for them, because elves in like typical fantasy, they are like higher than thou, like gaudy, very aloof, and rightfully so, because some it's written, let's say Tolkien's, right? It's written in a way they're less, they're not as easily manipulated by emotions, by stuff like that, compared to humans. And this is kind of weird because it's the opposite for Warhammer. They're highly in tune with like their emotions, and it's multiplied for them. So yeah, it's just different. They seem more ethereal in traditional fantasy. Like, it makes them different enough from humans that I'm like, yeah, that's an elf. And that's why I do appreciate Legolas and like elves, because it's different. They are different from humans.
All of the senses the Eldar had that were so powerful, things like feeling, happiness, sadness, and just evil and good, all needed to be satisfied and satiated. And the desire to satiate these senses grew more and more with worse and worse debauchery.
Yeah. And you guys watching this, you know, you know you've done it, man. You've delved into the deep hole, the deep rabbit hole of some bad corn, until you realize, hey, maybe I should stop, and then you stop. Hopefully, right, guys?
It started off with things like sex and drugs becoming so much more
Hell
rampant
yeah.
because these are the first things you generally turn to when requirements for living are so easily accessible. It would get to the point that made Sander Cohen in BioShock look sane. All right, this is the kind of debauchery it led to.
I don't get
It
the
was
reference.
constantly satisfying.
Is that from the latest one? Because I don't think I played that one. I've played the opening scene, and that's about it.
And satiating these sexual and sadistic or masochistic fantasies that only elevated and elevated, and this was species wide. People started going down darker, more depraved, and more violent paths as time went on. However, some people didn't entirely take to that. Some of the Eldar were looking at this depraved species that they had become and said, no thanks for me, dog, I'm good. And they bailed. These are the Craftworld Eldar. They left on these giant continent-sized starships called Craftworlds. They believed in learning the old ways of the Eldar and pushing away from this depravity and debauchery and going back to their main roots. And so they would segment themselves on these giant craft worlds far in the outer reaches of space. They even had this thing called the Webway. Remember what we mentioned about warp travel with the Imperium? Well, the Eldar had something
Right, yeah, I do remember. Yeah. They created their own thing to not touch the warp, really. Yeah, the Webway.
Safer, called a Webway. And the Eldar Webway is actually like a pocket dimension kind of thing. And in that pocket dimension, there were also more horrible, depraved groups and clans that would spend their time in there. And if you imagine the debauchery was bad already, these were debauchery X10. So all of this continued, and it bloated until Slaanesh just burst forth. All that emotion, all that mental, thought processes, I suppose. All of this in such a condensed space. Don't forget, this is all being shot, all their souls as well, into the warp. All this depravity right into the warp. So what happened? Boom! Slaanesh was birthed and killed off 90% of the entire Eldar population. Untold trillions had their souls ripped from their bodies and their actual fleshy bodies devoured by Slaanesh demons. The entirety of the Eldar race was eaten alive and their souls consumed to the Prince of Pleasure. All of them got fucked up. It was so bad that it literally ripped a warp hole into the fabric of the materia.
What the hell is this? Oh, claws. Holy man, this type of art really freaks me out, man. But I do like it in a way. I gotta get those books that I told you about in the last videos where like it has some of this like sci-fi weird ass gothic horror drawings where like I beat my meat to like some titties in there.
Called the Eye of Terror. That's literally this like quasi horrifying gateway portal from the Materium and the Immaterium right next to Cadia.
And he's still not explaining that yet. At some point he'll explain it. Hopefully in one of these videos, man.
It is horrifying. So this Slaanesh, also known as She Who Thirsts by the Eldar, slaughtered the entire, also known as She Who
Horny on man.
Thirsts by the Eldar, slaughtered the entire population except for a couple. Those in the Craftworlds were actually not affected by this as they were so far in the reaches of the galaxy. That crazy crack, that birth of Slaanesh only affected the ones in the center. So these Craftworld Eldar were able to escape, but Slaanesh got their sights on them. Every time an Eldar will die, their soul doesn't just pass into the warp naturally. It goes straight to Slaanesh, Craftworld or not. What about those people in the webway? Well, imagine that giant birth happening, but they were only able to just barely get a grasp onto you. Slaanesh was just barely able to hold on. These people are the Dark Eldar, or also known as the Drukhari. The Eldar
that's what I didn't mention, like, that is this the separation of Dark Elves in the first video? Yeah, so these the ones in the webways with they did the whole deprived thing as well. Okay, they're the Dark Elves. Damn, that's cool. That's cool, man. I love how like you watch something and then you know like how certain characters are or like certain tropes are, but then you want to see how the universe kind of explains, kind of explains to you how they exist in this universe.
Population right now is so massively small. It is minuscule compared to any of the other most of the other populations in the universe. The Eldar are consistently having issues trying to get their population up because as their souls are constantly being hungered from Slaanesh, they realize their entire species is doomed. And they understand it very well. Since the time of the fall, our race has been haunted by what we, in our reckless pursuit of hedonistic indulgence, gave birth to. Though our dreams once overturned worlds and quenched suns, we are now but fitful shadows clinging to the edge of existence. All the stars in the sky cannot blot out the hateful glare of the red moon's eye. The birthing place of the great enemy pulses with all the malice of a demon that is dreaming, casting its shadow over all we have ever done and all we ever shall. Every twisted strand of fate and casting of the runes leads me to this time, to this place, and it is clear that the final battle awaits me at the ancient Crone worlds, a conflict the likes of which has not been seen since the Monkai warred amongst themselves and their corpse of a seer fell to his traitorous son, is coming, and all my steps lead towards it, no matter that I walk other paths. I see the stars stain red with the blood of the Monkai, and though their wars do not concern me,
There's
I
a
would
long-ass
gladly
quote.
let them destroy one another. I know that to avoid this fight is to condemn my race to inevitable doom, and though all I see is darkness, I know that I will not flinch from my destiny. And now let's talk about cute plastic models.
Okay. The least favorite quote and makes sense. It's the faction that I do not care for.
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
The first playable race we have for the Eldar are the Craftworld Eldar and living in those Craftworld starships I mentioned earlier.
They're
And each
cool.
of them
They're
have their
cool.
own kind of Craftworld, almost like a Space Marine Legion. Each Craftworld is in itself its own special kind of group. And the Eldar themselves are very fast and rely a lot on trickery. They are squishy, a bit weak, but they're very in tune as psychers. Tons of psychers across the entire Eldar
yeah, that's the
population.
thing.
And their weaponry
Yeah.
and abilities are fast and extremely hard hitting, but of course rather fragile. Understanding an Eldar's brain is an exercise in futility. They are all over the place in confusion and trickery on a whole galactic scale.
Wait, really?
They fight weird, they think weirder, and Eldar in their own right really rely on this to keep their species alive.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. This is such a departure from elves that I know from like normal fantasy. It's not bad.
They need to think about deception and the strangeness of what they do if they truly want to not be immediately murdered and slaughtered wholesale thanks to their entirely small population. However, I must say that it seems like their population is getting slightly better. These craft worlds hold millions upon millions of people. And as they continually, reproduce and have their craft worlds expand, losing a few people in battle, while hurts a lot, they aren't really losing what's extremely precious to them. It's not like every single death means the death of their species. It seems like they're kind of on the upturn a little bit. They're still a doomed race being sucked into Slanesh every time someone dies, but they are definitely
Giggity. Being sucked. Oh no.
doing a little bit better than they were before. Eldar are fast, cunning, and what they don't make up for in tankiness, they make up for in extremely advanced weaponry. They also call humans Monkai, which is something I mentioned earlier. That is a derogatory slur for humans in the Warhammer world.
Okay.
Why is it called Monkai? Well, it's because you can't, in your game, call people monkeys.
Oh. Oh. Huh. Wait, what? Is that like a rule?
On the tabletop, exactly what I said. Not very tanky, generally pretty squishy, hit like trucks, and move at Mach 5.
That's. I'm gonna be honest. That's an L slur. That's the least sounding slur I've ever heard, man. Nurgle sounds way better as a slur, man.
Fast, hit hard, die fast. Exactly how it sounds. They've been good for a very long time, too. We bring only death and leave only carrion. It is a message even a human can understand.
Oh, okay.
Eldar. So,
They still have that gaudy. Holy. Damn, slice me up and dice me. They still have that gaudy, like, aloof aspect of elves. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Damn, she looks like a elven Katarina from League.
Drukhari. Let's talk about the Dark Eldar.
Oh, today's episode.
Hell yeah.
Fucked up is fucked up.
I'm gonna be honest. Dark elves in anime better than the normal elves. I don't know. There's some with the tan lines. Jeez.
That's fucked up.
So those people I mentioned in the webway, in the super deranged cults and the depraved people of the Eldar, in the webway, they didn't quite get a hold onto them. Slanesh has them, but it has them on by the pinky finger. And they're slowly being consumed by Slanesh.
It's like Shane Gillis, the comedian. He tells a joke how he looks like he's been swiped by Down syndrome. Not quite got it, but he looked like he's just been swiped a bit.
But they found out they can stave her off by doing Slaanesh things. The Dark Eldar are by far the worst, most horrifying, disgusting, depraved, and brutal race in all of Warhammer 40k.
Ooh,
These are entirely a group of people whose full purpose to save their species from extinction, to go into planets, raid them, and take as many slaves as they possibly can to torture them for 1, 5, 10, 20, a million years, because that torture will keep them from dying. They look very BDSM style too. They definitely have a lot more spiky bits and they have a lot more of that kind of leathery black look to them. But let's say you are an upstanding Imperial citizen, living life on a regular planet. You get invaded by the Necrons. The Necrons will shoot you with a deatomizer and you will be destroyed in a millisecond, and that's it.
Hell yeah, count me in, man. Hell yes. Although, I have seen some shots of like a cinematic where the guy was slowly dissolving. But I guess he's a space marine now. So that's different.
Not the worst way to go. You are invaded by Chaos Marines or something. You take a bolter shot to the head or a chain sword across your stomach and you get cut in half. Painful, but not the worst. The Orks arrive. They beat you to death. Hurts, but, you know, whatever. Tyranids, they eat you alive. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, you probably die from the
Dark
shock.
Eldar. The Dark Eldar. This is going to get a little graphic. I apologize. You pray you die. You don't. You are instead taken as a human slave. Your life will be endless work and agony, 24/7. They will make sure you can't not die, as your pain satisfies them. They will hook you up to all manner of torture devices. They will inject pain-based like stimuli drugs directly into your nervous system. They will slowly run razor blades across your skin. They will fillet you and pull out your teeth and your fingernails one by one. They will remove your appendages.
Yo, this is always a good aesthetic, man. Like dark with accents of like any color, but especially blue. It kind of looks like something from World of Warcraft, like Illidan type stuff, but it's blue.
And your skin, and wait for it to grow back so they can do it again. They will murder and torture and use the R word, it rhymes with grape, your entire family in front of you, and do the exact same thing to them.
Nice people.
You yourself will also be rhymes with grape anywhere and everywhere possible. And this will occur for 20 years until you are no longer...
Was this Bane? What the hell is this? Bro looks like he's either Bane or he's someone from Zone using Chemtech.
Satisfying to them. And then you will be contorted, crushed, and twisted into some form of trophy. A fleshy trophy, or a ring, or a couch, or a TV.
Oh, that's nice. Recycle, guys, recycle.
TV stand, or perhaps a wonderful hat, while you are, of course, still alive and breathing, and you will become a moaning, fleshy trophy for eternity.
Is that a promise? A moaning fleshy? Never mind.
And that is what happens when you are taken by the Dark Eldar. They are the most depraved, most horrifying race in all of 40k. They look the part, and they do it so they all don't die. They are literally forced to do this, because if they don't, Slaanesh's grip will get harder, and they will have their souls pulled away. So long as they keep doing this, Slaanesh is like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing solid. You keep that shit up, you elf-eared bastards." That's the Dark Eldar. That's the Drukhari. They are horrible. On the tabletop, they're actually kind of like Eldar, but more extreme. They are even squishier than the Eldar, but they hit generally even harder. Fast attacks, skirmishers, really quick, speedy, like get around them, do a lot of damage, get away.
You know what this is reminding me of? Like goblins in Magic the Gathering, MTG. Dude, I need to play that again, man. I do like that game. Got my friend into it. I didn't expect him to be addicted to the game. Like he was a Pokemon. Well, not exactly. He's a collector now, and he did like the game. Well, but as soon as he played MCG, he just fell in love, and he's got a higher rank than me. He's played more games than me, man.
Kind of stuff. That's most of the Dark Eldar. Look up the definition of grim dark in a dictionary. You'll find a picture of the Dark Eldar and Sev from Republic Commando. A quote.
I don't get
from
the reference.
Mr. Vec.
Is that from like Halo? Maybe a Halo lore soon. But I will be doing like Doom because my friend's playing Doom or has played Doom, and I want to get into the lore, man. I want to know what. I don't really care about the game. I barely play any games now, but apparently the lore is pretty good, so I'm down.
We are the lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed.
Sick.
Dark Eldar. Let's talk about the
Sick, not as in good. Sick as in depraved. These. Holy man.
Harlequins. Clowns.
What's the matter, Andy? Don't you want to have some fun?
The Harlequins are a bizarre race of Eldar. They're demonic clown performers. They're like a weird mix of Sander Cohen from BioShock and Jin.
I don't get that. Ooh, Jin? Now hold on. You piqued my interest. The best made character in League of Legends? Hey, no. Okay. Okay. But,
they're like a weird mix of Sander Cohen from...
is this from Infinite? This BioShock Infinite, right? I don't think I played that. I played the start of it. I think so, at least. Back when I had a 710, a GT, no X 710. Dude, when I had that, when I bought that, and I upgraded, bro, I had like a dedicated like GPU, dedicated like APU. Wait, no, it wasn't it. It was dedicated graphics. Yeah, it's just dedicated. Holy English, dedicated graphics from the CPU, which was terrible. Then got the 710, which was an upgrade. That was a huge upgrade. And I think I managed to run Infinite on there. Pretty sure I even ran what's it called? Exodus at some point. Not very well though. Probably like 15 FPS, but yeah, I never played the Infinite.
BioShock and Jin from League of Legends, but in a more
That's some high praise,
theme.
man.
They're artists of death and perfecters of their craft. Ooh. They do not belong to Craftworlds or any of the weird Drukhari people. They guard something called the Black Library, which is this giant tome of never-ending knowledge deep in the heart of the Eldar webway, and also guarded by their god named Kegorok, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Bro, that god is a clown dude. The only clown dude gods I remember is from Lost Ark. I think I played it. I think I did the raid for that. I'm pretty sure, at least.
He is the laughing god, but it's the Eldar's laughing god, and these are the Harlequins, the Harlequin clowns. These are Eldar clowns, okay? So imagine the things that an Eldar, these depraved individuals, would find funny. And this is the god of that. It's a horror clown. These are gods of horror for us normal people. For them, they're like, oh, it's so funny. They're all dying horribly. They're very bizarre and difficult to describe. They've escaped the ruinous powers of Slanesh somehow, but their main thing is guarding that Black Library. And the Harlequins...
I wonder how powerful it is. Like, is it real? Is their god like real, like in universe, or is it just made up and they just worship it?
Just They're demon clown performers. They're barely any models on the tabletop. They're good in melee. They're demon clowns. I'm not sure. I got a quote. It is too easy for an Eldar to embrace.
It's weird that it's a couple of times that I've seen this now, like a couple of like things that are not fully on the tabletop. They haven't made it. This game's been out since the 80s. What? How have you not decided to make more or characters or like diversify certain characters? Like I think it's the Sisters of Silence. I think they're not very well represented. Their models are like few and far between.
Embrace the obscene virtues of chaos, for Slaanesh is nothing more than a manifestation of the Eldar mind in its most wild and unconstrained form. Human morality is meaningless to the Eldar, and to the dark side of the Eldar mind, all life is to be expended at a whim. Cruelty and generosity are but the impulse of a moment. Beauty and sensuality are virtues that can be expressed in bloodshed just as easily as in song. To an unfettered Eldar mind, there is neither sanity nor madness, but merely a wave of perfect existence fulfilled by its own savage momentum. They're very strange. The Harlequins, Drukhari, Eldar, they are an anomaly that make humans seem completely easy to understand in comparison.
Yeah.
They range from rekindling their civilization to horrifying murder and also clowns. They're all over the place, but honestly, they represent quite well and are rather interesting, especially with the whole Slaanesh murdering everyone bit. So, yeah, Eldar. Now, bugs.
Ma, they following me, Ma.
Tyranids. Okay. Eldars does not interest me. I thought like more explanation on them would like, I don't know, spark some interest. I guess the craft worlds are interesting to me because in sci-fi I find that interesting. What if like find a future, they're just living on spaceships and they're trying to like find a habitable place, and just seeing that dynamic of like normal people but in space in this craft, you know. But that's the only thing. Everything else doesn't interest me a bit.
They following me.
Doesn't move me an inch.
The Tyranids. Now, you want to talk something a lot more fun, a little more simple than all this crazy Eldar shenanigans? Let's talk the Tyranids. They're bugs. Do they look like Zerg? Hell yeah, they look like Zerg. You want to know why they look like Zerg? Because they were actually...
Tyranids are like, holy damn. Tyranids are like everywhere, right? They're not just in Warhammer 40k, because I'm pretty sure I've heard Tyranid. Isn't this in the Helldivers, or is that something else? Are they called something different?
Actually supposed to be what Zerg were. Apparently StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k game in the beginning, hence why they look so much like Eldar, Zerg, and the Imperium of Man. Like, kind of Space Marine-y, those Marines, huh? They look a little bit Space Marine-y to me. Maybe.
StarCraft was meant to... Okay. Oh, wait, are they called Tyranids in StarCraft? I don't know much about StarCraft. I know a little bit. I don't think I like the gameplay. I've seen the pros play it, and I'm like, I'll never catch up to that point.
I don't know. You really fucked up on that one, Games Workshop, didn't ya? Tyranids are a giant infestation of unfathomable proportions. These are giant, extremely bio-advanced hive mind organisms that are basically all about absorbing as much biomass as they possibly can to evolve and mutate to be extremely potent and powerful and kill and eat anything in their path. They are probably the least evil faction in all of 40k because all they want to do is eat shit. They want to nom nom the entire galaxy. They hangry and we food. Also,
Bro.
They want to nom.
Bro has the... This looks like Kog'Maw. If you play League, you know exactly, like the teeth and then the tongue with the mouth out. Yeah, there's... Bro. But the difference is, like, I guess they're void creatures in League. They kind of look like these. They're kind of bugs, I guess. Are they all bugs? Yeah. Mal. Mal's summons little bugs. Belveth is a stingray, but she summons bugs. Cho'Gath is a big bug. uh, what else is there? Kha'Zix is a bug. Yeah, I guess the void in League of Legends, the Tyranids, I guess.
Nom the entire galaxy. They hangry and we food. Also, this Tyranid hive mind has a presence in the warp. In fact, Tyranids in their own right have a massive presence in the warp. They have a thing called the shadow in the warp specifically, where when they are coming in to invade a planet, they have this weird ability to kind of cut off the warp on all the psychers on that planet. And how do you get help across the stars? Well, you need the warp, because you need that for interstellar travel.
Okay.
So with people unable to call for help from the Tyranids, these are just easy pickings. And an entire giant Tyranid hive fleet comes out of orbit and just will massacre, absorbing all that biomass and turning them and all of their other Tyranids into even more advanced monsters. They come in so many varieties too, all based on what is important. Tiny little ripper swarms for scouting and having little dudes eat people up, to the Hormigons, Termagons,
what the heck is this? Oh, I don't like the humanoid. I don't like the gross. It's like just a normal person with like bug legs, and then they grow out. It's like that meme where, like, you know, the bodybuilders, they have like big traps and everything, and people have edited to where like they can pull the head out and the traps are like the shoulders, so that they look like bodybuilders look like they're just normal humans, like inside this mech suit. That's what this looks like. It's just popping out, man.
All the way to the Hive Guard and the
well.
Exocrines and the Swarm Lord, to Hive Tyrants and their giant battle fleets, and even something as crazy as the Hierophant Bio Titan. The Tyranids come in all forms and sizes depending on what they require. They are extremely good at anti-biological weaponry. There is no way you can plague them or blight them. They have extremely strong armor, carapaces and such. Tyranids are nigh perfect organisms and are pretty spooky when it comes down to how they handle all of their genetic material. Keep feeding them, they'll keep evolving. They keep on creating new horrifying organisms to spread across the galaxy. And you know what the most terrifying part of the Tyranids is? We might be surrounded. There have been like around 6 or 7 Tyranid hive fleets, Behemoth, Kronos, all these different kinds of hive fleets, and they've all arrived in the galaxy from different points. Different sections of the Milky Way galaxy have had.
It's just all planned. Holy, I thought there'd be like more brain dead and like they just take over. They go from next planet to next planet, like because it's the closest or something. But no, this is holy. They're no bug brains, that's for sure.
Had different Tyranids come through. And that is horrifying. Because as far as we know, we could just be surrounded on all sides by Tyranids. The only reason you may not hear a whole lot about Tyranids is because it's a little bit hard to have a bunch of story off of one hive mind genocidal monsters. All these giant bugs swarming in, killing and eating everybody and evolving. I mean, as cool as there are some cool characters, the Swarm Lord, Old One Eye, you can't really have a whole bunch of major character-based stories around them. As awesome as they are, they're simple. They want to eat you. They want to eat you and absorb your biomass. They are simple bugs.
What more can you what more can you ask for? This is wild. So they're just inside this? That's crazy.
What's like a little more complex? Talk Genestealer cults.
I can have all the pot I want, I get around faster than walking, and wherever I need a seat.
I'm assuming they take genes from other animals, other races, and kind of splice them with themselves. That's cool. But I will say Tyranids definitely more interesting to me personally than the Eldar.
I can just sit on my balls.
Genestealer cults are
What?
a special brand of Tyranid that can slowly infect themselves into different kinds of society. And by infecting them, they can rise up to where they all pray and believe in these regular humans, pray and believe into their Tyranid hive mind gods. And these brood lords and I think they're called patriarchs all can turn an entire world all based into Genestealers, and these are called Genestealer cults. An entire hive world
it's
of
different
the
from what I
Imperium
thought.
can be turned into nothing but servants to the Tyranid masters just by infecting them and screwing with their genetic code a little bit. They also have this cool like Mad Max look, which is really neat. They are definitely one of the bigger threats to the Imperium besides Chaos. I keep saying biggest threat to the Imperium. They're up there though, because you, dingus, stepped on a bug in middle school. Asshole. There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale, and all we can do is to try to stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salvage our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us, it must know us as nothing but prey. Tyranids. They're cool.
That's very fire, dude.
But are they as cool as the Orks?
Orks. Hell yeah.
I'm super fast.
Orks, 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 orks. I fucking love orks. So, yes,
Okay.
the green monsters, the
good, huh?
green tide, the green skins. These orks, they are in fact a race in 40k. The orks are as exactly what you expect them. They have archaic weapons, they're big boys, they have axes, and they have got big old teeth, and they want to kill everything, and there are so many of them. The only reason they haven't taken over the entire galaxy is they can't stop murdering each other. Orks are so cool. Orks don't have philosophy. Orks don't have existential crisis. What matters is who's the biggest ork. You listen to that guy, because he the biggest ork. He big ork, big ork.
It's simple, man. Hey, man, simple. I like it. I like it. I think. Wait, what was the first race that I played in Modern Warcraft? Oh, it was Dark Elf, actually. Yeah, it was Dark Elf. Elf, and then Orc, I think. Straight after. And then Tauren. Yeah, but I like Orcs, man. Orcs are pretty cool. I will say a bit of a lore drop for you guys who watch all my videos, not just Warhammer 4K. It's my name on YouTube, Dultan, or pretty much everywhere I use it, is from World of Warcraft, Dultan. It was kind of like a play on that, and I'm pretty sure it's because the website I tried to join didn't allow apostrophes, and then I kind of just spelt it like that, Dalton. But yeah, it's like a deviation from the name Duratan, but it kind of has the same essence, kind of very orc-ish. But yeah, orcs are like pretty cool. I like how simple they are, very honorable. Obviously not from the human side, but I like the whole aspect of like it's in loads of media, except from like a lot of the Rings, I guess. But like in most media, they do prefer the strong, and the strong always leads. It's very tribal, and they do have some sort of like honor system of like if you're fighting to the death. In World of Warcraft, it's like the Makara. In the manhwas that I read, they do this as well. Like the main character fights the orc chief or something, and it's very like this war hungry, fight hungry race, and all they love doing is fighting, and that's it. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, but I think it's pretty epic. It's pretty cool, man.
orc knows best. You win through the power of imagination. Of all the races I have battled throughout the galaxy, the orc is the hardest to comprehend. They wage war with machines that should not work, care little for strategic gains, and are just as likely to slaughter each other as the enemy. How does one battle an enemy that defies all logic? As an orc, you're enjoying...
Don't let them know your next move.
life. You're enjoying the life you're given. Your
Hell
whole
yeah,
life
man.
and job and purpose is to get up and
Hell.
beat each other to death
Hell
as you
yeah.
can. The biggest orc is the man who understands everything. He is the boss. And orcs have this really weird, like, big, dumb, stereotype British accent, which is just hilarious to me. Those are orcs. You fight.
That fits. That fits. Like a heavy Cockney accent. I'm sorry if you're Cockney. It's just how you sound to us, you know. To the rest of us, you kind of sound unga bunga. Let's just say.
You like to fight. Your whole purpose is to fight. You wage war because you want to wage war. You got your boss over there, and you better listen to the boss, because if you don't listen to the boss will squish you and make you an example for the other orcs. And then you can't fight because orc dead. And orc dead can't fight because orc dead. Orcs.
I feel that.
Scrap together machines out of parts that don't make any sense, and because they believe...
If there's a will, there's a way, man. And they are willing to go the whole way just to fight you. This is crazy. It's like the goblins in WoW, man. They just... Yeah, this is just the horde, really. They just put a bunch of stuff together. Sometimes it works, or sometimes, well, most of the time you just die.
They have the mental imagination that machine will run, it'll run. If that machine's out of gas, you're driving that machine with your fellow orcs, and the biggest orc is behind the wheel, and you run out of gas, some orc behind you is like, oh, Zog, we're out of gas. And the big orc is like, no, we're not. I filled the fucking gas tank up earlier. And all the other orcs are like, oh yeah, you did do that. And then you turn the fucking mech back on, and it works again. Does it have gas? Probably not. But it works. The power of imagination. They paint things...
No, please don't tell me this is an actual plot device. Please tell me it just works, and then most of the time it doesn't work and they die or it malfunctions. Don't tell me the belief actually gets them. That is crazy. I don't even know how to feel about that. It feels crappy, but it feels funny because they're probably, besides, well, actually, the Tyranids aren't that dumb. They're surrounding the whole galaxy, apparently. So yeah, the Orks might be the dumbest race out there.
Red because it makes them think they goes faster. They paint things purple because it's the sneakiest color.
Hang on. No. That does work. Petting red, it does make it go faster. But let's not lie about this now.
You want to know why? You ever seen a purple orc? Didn't fucking think so. Orcs are also like ancient as hell. They're back in the Eldari time frame. But back then they were called Orks, and they were much larger and scarier and far more intelligent. Now they're just orcs, and they're big, dumb, and they smack things. But they're pretty spooky. They're not very well armored.
Survival of the dumbest.
But they hit really hard, and it's called the Green Tide because there are so many orcs. There are about as many orcs as there are Tyranids. Maybe more. Who knows? But they keep on, murdering each other, so it's not too bad of an issue.
Okay.
Orcs are entirely comic relief. Their stuff is slapped together that makes no sense. Their vehicles don't work the way they're supposed to, but they work because they think it works, because they imagine that it works. Orcs care only about who is the biggest orc, and they will follow the biggest orc. And then if they want to be the biggest orc, they'll challenge the biggest orc. And then when they go and they issue a wa is just war in orc, they murder everybody and everything in this.
So these orcs as well, or like, are they goblins? Or are they actually like goblins different race? If they are goblins, are they goblins a separate race, or are they goblins as in they are orcs but they're goblins? Like it, like there's children and then there's adults.
Giant tide of green orcs who are just excited to be hitting something. They don't care that they're hitting Eldar or the Imperium or Tau or anyone in between. They're just so they get to beat shit up. That's orcs. And on the tabletop, they are a total coin flip and they're really fun. I have never met a salty orc player. I have never met someone who plays orcs and is ever just a bad guy.
Bro, I get it, man. I think I could see the mentality of like, hey, let's go in, let's fuck shit up. Oh, I lost. Oh well, who cares? It was fun, bro. This might be it, man. I might, ooh, I might be picking orcs as a faction, as a race, man. They're cool, man. They're cool. they are bash my head against the wall till I get through type cool, man. I like it.
Or that guy. Orc players have this kind of fun to them because when you play them, you are completely submitting yourself to RNG. So here's the thing. Guardsmen.
It's done. It's done. It's done. I'm in. Brother said RNG and hey, I love RNG. If I had money, I'd be I'd be in debt now.
Imperial Guardsmen, when they shoot, they roll a dice, and on a 4 up, they'll hit their target. They have a 50% chance. Space Marines, pretty good. They hit on a 3 or higher because they're well trained. Adeptus Custodians, they hit on 2s because they're just super well trained. Orcs, they hit on a 5 or higher. But if they roll a 6, they get to make another shot with.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. This is it, man. I found them. I found my faction.
Anything from the dinkiest pistol to the biggest rocket launcher. It doesn't matter. Half of their stuff will blow up on a whim. One of their medics, if you roll a 1 to heal someone, you fuck up your surgery and you just kill an orc. They're so wacky and silly. But the thing is if you roll well, you roll high, and you keep rolling high, you are going to crush people.
Okay, no wonder he's not met like a bad orc player, like a bad loser, because they realize it's RNG, man. They don't care. It's fun, bro. I'm in. I'm all the way in. I was like, this is the most interesting one. They're funny. They're dumb. But, bro, you bring a little bit of gamba into this. I am in.
And if you don't, you lose. I mean, that's what you get when you play orcs. That's what happens when you play orc. It's a coin flip, which is why you can't be a salty bitch when you play orcs, because things won't go your way.
Yeah.
It's just the roll of the dice. You're playing a dice game. But if you're going to have fun,
you're just playing against RNG at that point. You're not playing against the other player. And I think I like that more. Yeah, you're not versing the other player. There's barely any skill or strategy in this. You're like, if you're on a lucky streak, you're on a lucky streak. If you're not, you're not, man.
Fun, and you want to be stupid, and you want to be silly, you're gonna play some damn orcs. But on the opposite side of the fun part of this, let's talk about the Necrons.
Ooh, the Necrons. Okay, these were like the interesting ones from the first video. I think we'll see if it changes, but I think after now I'll put Orcs most interesting to me because they're my faction now. Humans and Necrons. Those are my top 3. Mostly because of like the whole story of they didn't want to die, and then they were given these immortal bodies, but like their souls were trapped, and I just like that story. That story's pretty cool. That's why they're in 3rd place.
The Necrons are spooky, scary skeletons and very grimdark again. They have a much more fleshed out lore than before. Back in the day, they were just undead Egyptian space terminators, and they still look that way, but now they actually have a story. So way back in the day, you had the Necron tier. Kind of see a theme here: Eldari, Eldar, Krork, Ork, Necron, Necron tier. So the Necron tier were this race of generally kind of shitty people. Not because they were personally shitty, because their lives were awful. They were ill-fated to a horrible existence.
You know what this reminds me of? Thor with Thunder and Love. I think that's what it's called. The latest Thor movie. Christian Bale playing oh fuck. What's his name? The God Killer. But yeah, playing that character, that's what this reminds me of, man. Shitty life, came into power, and wants to destroy the gods. Like,
personally shitty because their lives were awful. They were ill-fated to a horrible existence of like radiation and a terrible planet they lived on, and everything just really sucked. Being a Necron tier was just really depressing. They really were looking for immortality. They were extremely reliant on the hope that they would eventually find the key to living forever and just stave off.
I just realized this is just another facet of humans. I'm just realizing this is just another reflection of what humans are. I don't know how to feel it. Do I like it? Maybe. Like everything just reflects humans, but is that everything though? I don't know. I don't know if I like. I think I do.
This horrible nature that they were thrust upon them.
I guess you can attribute that to anything, really. I think I'm just thinking way too much into it. Because yeah, you can attribute it to like Tyranids, just this idea of like not having enough expansion. Yeah, I guess you can attribute anything to like humans, but I don't know. I just, somehow I'm salty about the Eldar, the elves, because bro, it's just I don't know how to feel about them. They don't feel separate from humans enough to me.
And therefore they could become the most dominant race in the galaxy. And they found this group. They're called the Old Ones. Imagine them kind of like the Forerunners in Halo or the Xel'Naga in StarCraft, right? These Old Ones were these strong, pretty much omnipotent beings. And they, of course, knew the key to immortality. So the Necrons went to them and said, please, show us your ways. And the Old Ones said, piss off. Not really, they were a lot more humble about it, but they did not want to share their secret of immortality with the Necrons. The Necrons, of course, took this very well and waged war with them, kind of under this united banner. The Necron different dynasties didn't really like each other, but under this one man, the Silent King, he thought the best way to unite his race was to do this giant war with the Old Ones out of spite for them keeping the secret of immortality to them. This was known as the War in Heaven, and this is actually like a multi-stage war, because during this War in Heaven, they discovered the Star Gods, a whole new race of people known as the Catan, or the Catan. These Star Gods were also very much like Old Ones, almost omnipotent beings.
Ooh.
And
in the first video, I thought the Catan were the Old Ones. Or was that retconned? Was that changed? Because I'm pretty sure that other video is like older. Or is it newer? The other video is newer, isn't it? Like it was a couple of months ago, within this year. Not this year, but within the past year. But this is older.
they too
have they changed
the key
it?
to
Let me know,
immortality.
man.
And so the Necrons went to them and said, hey, can you help us fight off the Old Ones? Can you help us kill these Old Ones, you, the Catan? And the Catan said yes. And in fact, we can help provide you with the immortality you so desperately seek. So the Silent King of the Necrons decided to make a pact with the C'tan to allow them to accept this generous gift of immortality upon them.
Bro fell for a scam. Easy clap.
But this, of course, had been a horrendous trap, and the Necrons were dragged in chains to this biotransference where their flesh was stripped from them, replaced with nothing but a metal hollow shell, as their souls were ripped from their body and fed to the C'tan. And the C'tan fattened up. They got chonk on the souls of the Necrons. As this was their plan all along, they consumed the flesh and souls of the Necron tier and turned them all into unwilling robotic slaves just to serve their will. And then, with their new-founded Necron army, they pointed their guns at the old ones, and the C'tan continued their domination of the stars and their genocide, complete and full genocide of these old ones.
Whoa, that is crazy. And this whole time I thought it was like a couple of old ones helped them to fight the rest. But yeah, this is just a pure race war. Okay.
The old ones did their best to stave it off. They even created other races, the Eldari and the Orks.
Yeah, I almost forgot. Yeah, they did create these guys. Damn, this is why I thought they were like the same, because they kind of had this power to each other, this like godly power that I thought, hey, they're both like old ones. And they're both called the C'tan. Yeah, that's weird.
To fight off the horrifying Necron army and the C'tan above them, but there was absolutely no possible chance for them, and the old ones were absolutely extinguished across the galaxy. Their entire race completely removed. Full-on 100% genocide. However, during all this, the C'tan, so just infatuated with their victory, started fighting each other for fun, for sport, and for small differences, doesn't matter. The C'tan, with these overpowered people, they're gonna eventually hit each other at some point. And as they began just menially fighting each other, the Eldari and the Orks actually started pushing on the C'tan's borders a little bit, giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And as this continued, this is when the Silent King, who retained his consciousness, decided to leap into action and start a full-scale revolt against their C'tan masters. And this revolt was bloody, as the entire
I guess they still have like the Egyptian thing going.
Army was surged off to destroy these star gods. They were able to, just after suffering horrendous losses, were able to turn the tide of the war. And they took these C'tan and they blasted them, because as these star gods are unkillable, they were able to
they broke them, yeah, and then like spread them out. Yeah, right. Damn, that's crazy, man.
Thousands of shards and entrap them in giant stasis vaults.
I think a bunch of like stories do this, like where someone's immortal and you can't really kill them. So the best thing you do is you just separate them, right? You separate the bodies, the body parts.
Now actually be slaves to the Necrons. And with the Necrons having the entirety of their...
Actually, it's in JJK. Like, Sukuna's legit just like separated his body parts. Well, I guess it's like fingers, really. It's mostly fingers. I guess it would be weird having having him eat the whole body. Everything. Jesus.
Old gods enslaved to them. They realized that soon their race was about to be attacked by the overcoming new races, the Eldari and the Orks. And so what they did is they retreated into giant stasis tombs in order to preserve their energy and their strength for when one day they would be reawakened and they would be able to rule the galaxy that was rightfully theirs. And then some dingus Adeptus Mechanicus guy diddled with a
By the way, don't say diddle. That's wild. But yeah, it's always one, man. Has to ruin it for the rest of us.
Theirs. And then some dingus Adeptus Mechanicus guy diddled with a green console, and now the Necrons are back, and they...
Those are the augmenting guys, right? They're the ones that like kind of they build weapons, right? For like humanity. I think that's them, if I remember correctly. And they're the heretics that are allowed to be heretics.
see all these primitive races on their lawns, and they think, get the fuck off of it. The Necrons are back, super advanced, and they are here to reclaim the galaxy that they so rightfully believe is theirs. Now, at tabletop, they're a lot like that.
Okay.
Tons of undead Egyptian skeleton robots that when they die, they just get right back up because they keep on reanimating. Hard to kill, tons of crazy stuff. You can use the Catan themselves.
How do you actually kill on what's the rules on that? They're immortal. They have a katana, a space god at the disposal.
As units to fight with. It's pretty cool. The Necrons are one of the three major events in 40k. The Horus Heresy, the Fall of the Eldar, and the Awakening of the Necrons are all pretty substantial events. And the Necrons themselves are pretty dang cool as well. Here's a good quote from a wonderful Dawn of War game. Lucky creatures, as long last you have found the tranquility of death. I was like you once, clinging to life and blind to the truth. When I uncovered the truth, I too shuddered and paled with fear. Deep in these catacombs, I was remade. Here, my brethren slumbered for eons while the living grew like weed. My Lord knew this day would come. He had plans for us all. We would purge this world once more. So come, poor victims of life. We will grant you tranquility in these crypts. Kronos will be a tomb world once more.
Oh, I do like the aspect. They can't die, but they see the beauty in dying, in death, so they're just spreading it to the universe. That's crazy though.
Necrons are also pretty smug. Trazen the Infinite especially, a little dickhead. But speaking of dickheads, last race, let's talk the Tau.
The Tau. I wonder if Warframe got Tau from this, or is it? I guess Tau is an old word. I'm pretty sure, at least, right? I'm pretty sure it's like Hebrew or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, there is a Tau star system. Or is it I think it's the Tau star system. It's basically the new place in Warframe that in the story that humans were trying to get to, or well, humans including what you would call it, the Golden Lords. That's one of the names that come to mind. I forgot what the actual race is. But yeah, that's the place they were trying to get to, traveling using the void to warp themselves there, but some stuff happened. The old war started, and all the Golden Lords were massacred, apart from one. But yeah, Tau was the star system, the new star system that in Warframe people were trying to get to, and hopefully in a new expansion at some point we'll be able to see this new star system. So we'll have like 200 more nodes to farm stuff on in Warframe.
The exact formation of the Tau Empire is not entirely understood. However, a long time ago, many thousands of years ago, in the 40k world that is, some Imperial navigation vessels were going around through different areas.
That is cool. Is that made out of gold, like fully gold? It's a heavy ship. Must have been built outside in space, man.
And they saw a primitive race, blue people, smacking each other with sticks and stones. And they thought, nah, dumb Xenos race, who gives a shit, and they bailed. Then this giant warp storm occurred right in that major area, unable to be breached. Then, once that warp storm 6,000 years later subsided, hello, those little sticks. Well, they decided to actually have no war of any kind and all just unite together under one flag of the Tau Empire, and now they have gigantic starships and gun
Nah, this is another aspect of humanity that I always say, like, how to solve racism. Well, if aliens if aliens enter this planet, you'd solve racism very quick between our between the human race, man. Easy. They legit just did that. They saw, oh my god, there's aliens on our planet. We need to stick together. Pun not intended. Stick together. That's wild.
Random robots and lasers and railguns and mechs, and they are here to ruin your day for the greater good. That is generally the Tau Empire. They have this kind of feeling of this homogenous group. All species can go underneath the banner of the greater good. The greater good is their idea of the fundamental increase and help of all. In fact,
shoutouts to Hot Fuzz. I almost forgot the name there.
They are most likely the most like the Covenant in Halo, where they have the overarching prophets, being the ethereals, who are actually kind of dicks and like to pull at strings a little bit, but then you have all these different races directly underneath them, and they all work together in this big group as this large, foreboding race that tries to spread their weirdly pseudo-religious influence across the galaxy. Okay. The alien is not intrinsic.
They might be the good guys in this whole world. In this whole universe, these guys might be the good guys.
Evil. Do not hate him. Pity him, his ignorance. Seek to understand his differences and equate him with his inadequacies. Only then will he accept his place in the greater good.
Never mind. These are alt left. This is the alt left in 2025, man. Holy, they predicted this in the 80s. I'm kidding. I know it's probably like later or something. They probably added these like storylines, but yeah, this is just the PC principle, man.
That is generally the Tau. And if you're kind of wondering like what their mainly big shtick is, well, they're all about big robots and mechs. They have laser rifles and railguns.
Heck yeah, the weeps on top of that as well.
Tons of missile pods and
very accurate for the far left, man.
Heavy rail rifles and rail guns and burst.
Weeb, self-righteous a-holes. That's the far left for you.
Cannons and ion accelerators and void shields and all this stuff. And that is generally what the Tau's all about. But you're probably thinking, Bricky, this doesn't sound that evil.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound very.
They sound like
grim, dark Warhammer.
They sound like the good guys. They sound like what the main characters are in like a horrible setting like this.
And you'd be right. The Tau Empire really don't have that much of a horrifying, grim, dark style like everybody else. They're much more younger, new age thing. In fact, they're probably a lot less evil and a lot even better than they are now back in the day, because they liked having like that good guy faction. But a lot of us who really like the dark, depressing style of Warhammer didn't really like it that much. So, see, the Tau get a lot of hate, and a lot of that hate isn't necessarily unjustified. It's mainly from a tabletop perspective, but as you can see from all the visuals I've shown you recently, they don't really fit in the 40K universe.
True, they do feel off, but I don't know. I think it's fine. In League, you have mages who look very like typical fantasy, as in like medieval fantasy, garments and stuff like that. And then you have people in Piltover riding around in a one-wheel motorcycle thing that, and they're doing science with like hex tech and stuff, and it looks very steampunky, Victorian age. And then you have Sharimans, who are very ancient Egyptian, Africa esque tribes surrounding Sharima. It's, I guess, it does look off, but I mean, think of it in the real world. Back in, let's say, the height of piracy in the Caribbean, Um, if you look at it that way, you can probably go to like separate places on the planet and they will have different living conditions and they will look very different from each other. Like you could visit tribes. You can do it in nowadays as well. Like you can visit tribes in New Guinea. Like there's tribes that don't have no contact with the rest of the world and they look like they are living in, I don't know, the Stone Ages, and then you can go to like America. Actually, that's, you still see a lot of people living in the Stone Ages. Let's go Europe. You can go to Europe and everyone's like rioting. Never mind. But you get what I mean. Uh, in a universe this big, I guess the difference is the rest kind of have the same theme esque, and this one stands out on its own because it doesn't feel too gritty, too dark, and that's why it's because it's solo on its own. Whereas in League, they are very different. You have like super medieval fantasy, and then you have like sci-fi steampunky esque stuff, but you have all these separate things that have their own separate styles that are separate from each other, and it does make it cohesive. So, like, let's say if humans had their own separate style that wasn't like cohesive with the rest, and like orcs had this separate style and wasn't cohesive with like the grim dark of the rest, this wouldn't stand out as much. It's just that it's on its own, and that's why it stands out too much. Plus the Toyota like logo, no go, no go, dude.
very well. They lack that super dark, dramatic, kind of high
Yeah.
gothic level the Imperium has. They don't have the weird kind of like grungy stuff that Chaos or say the Orks do. And the Necrons and the Eldar have their own specific style as well. The Tau really do look like something out of Gundam. And while that
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does definitely
looks
not
very
fit too
different.
well. There's that. There's also the tabletop problem. In tabletop, Tau are horrible at melee combat, but exceptionally good at range combat. So they blast everyone from really, really far away, and they have a million rules to make it so that it's nearly impossible for you to get into melee combat. So it basically
what?
just forces you to bottleneck the game into one specific gameplay style, which is gun to gun. And if you're doing gun to gun, they're going to win every time, because they're the Tau, and the Tau are really damn good at shooting. So it's one of those things that make the Tau generally rather hated, and a lot of different reasons
I can see why,
for that,
yeah.
both from
I could see that. Like you couldn't think of another way to like allow people to get in like normal, to get in melee range. Like you could have, I guess you could have like separate like units that plant mines and stuff to stop you, or like to slow down the people from entering your space, to be able to shoot from range. But like if it's like actual rules stopping people, that's kind of weird, man. That's weird, champ.
style and such. But this is actually one of the things I wanted to end this video with, is that the Tau, while they have their issues, you should not be discouraged from playing them. I'll make plenty of Tau weeaboo jokes, of course I will, but it's all generally
Oh
good
my
fun.
god. I just made that. I just made that. I do remember him mentioning Weibo, but I didn't think it was this. It was Tao, so I don't remember the line, but I do remember him saying Weibo at some point in the first video. Okay.
Fun. Anyone who legitimately doesn't want you to play a faction is an idiot, and you shouldn't be giving them the time of day. You pick what you think is cool and what you like.
Hell yeah. This is me playing Valorant, taking the Odin every time. It's in the game, man. Blame the game. Ask the devs to remove it, buddy.
Warhammer, especially now, factions get better and they get worse. They grow and then they fall. you should only be playing what you think is cool. You like the look, you like the models. If you're talking tabletop, that is what you should be going for every time, is what you think is badass, because things change all the time. But the universe of Warhammer has so much going for it. Every faction has something interesting, every character has a story, and there's a million stories to be told. The universe is vast and exciting.
I do like this, what he talks about, because I like a vast world, but then you zoom in very small, and then you focus on these little characters in this huge universe. That's why I like Arcane, even though there's quite a lot of like big things that happen in it. Ultimately, I like the small aspect of like they're just street rats, little kids who are like fighting. But then in season 2, it gets bigger than that, which I do like as well, but I prefer like zooming in very small into like average day lives in this huge universe with all these rules and all these stuff that happens, but you're focused in on this like story.
And while it is dark, depressing, and horrible, that is the damn charm. And out of everything I've told you in these 2 videos, if anything you could take away is the reason why so many of us are so into this series and why we like it so much. Because with so much variety, such an expansive universe, and so much that can be done, you can find yourself having a pretty great time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has been informative to you. If you'd like to see more of me, Bricky, we have twitch.tv/Bricky for my stream.
No. He's finished his I think it's, what's it called? Re-Explained. His second one came out like a few hours ago. Well, yesterday. I think there's one more stuff that I need to check out first before rewatching those. And then I'll probably delve into some Doom lore. I don't know which though. I do have a 40-minute video that says all of Doom lore explained, but then there's also a 3-hour video. There's a whole 3-hour video out there, so I'm not sure. But it'll be definitely Doom after I go into Warhammer. Then probably Halo after that, but who knows, man. Maybe another franchise catches my eye. Thank you very much for making it this far. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, follow me on Twitch, both linked down below. Special thanks to all my channel members. See ya.